Now, moving into specifics a little bit, just again, because some people that may be viewing this video may not be as familiar with the school choice concept. So for their benefit, could you maybe explain how your plan might work? Because there's also a lot of variation in between plans. I mean, even Chris Christie and Steve Lonigan have differing views about how their voucher program, for instance, might be executed.
That's a good point, exactly. The way I envision it is this. First start off with your core, beliefs, right? That the money are the people's money, and the choice should be made by the parents. Now, listen, if you do live in a particular school district, I guess the unfortunate reality is there are some limits in choice because you have space limitations, right? So if the entire state wanted to go to one school, well, we know we can't have that happen, right? Because obviously you don't have the space for it. So the way I envision it is every parent has the first right to send their child to the public school in their district. So, you live in a certain town, and you like those schools, and you move there because of those schools, you're a first priority. Nobody can tell you that you cannot send your child to that school. But if there is excess capacity at a school, then if somebody from another district wants to apply to get into that school, then whether it's a lottery system or something else, we still need to work out the details, but the idea is that I can take that child out of that district and move him to a school in another district. And of course, the money that was otherwise be going to that one district would effectively follow the kid because the money, follows the child. And that's, in some broad strokes, the essence. Now, I think if you want to talk about political reality, is you're probably going to focus this first on the areas where there's, lower income and, lower performing schools. But if you're true to your theoretical beliefs, then quite frankly, any parent should have the right to take that same amount of money and send their child to a private school, right, or any other school. Again, the more competition you create, then you would think that the result would be better educational opportunities for everybody.
One of the things we've talked about, Barry, is how we think that this issue is one of the bridge issues that we can use to reach out to non-traditional segments of the population and maybe unite them around conservative Republican causes to get some real change in our society and do some good, particularly in the education arena. And I think one such example of that is the Urban Enterprise Zone Job Scholarship Act that actually has among its sponsors Senator Raymond Lesniak, who's a Democrat from your part of the world, from North Jersey. I think it's a very interesting bill, and if I'm correct about this, I actually think your opponents may have signed on to it. Whether or not their party actually chooses to do anything about it is obviously another story. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, there is a bill that I believe is in committee on both houses, and the idea of it is that corporations can basically contribute some money to a scholarship program where kids could use to take that money to either go to out-of-district public school, in-district, or out-of-district non-public school. So it really has all the elements that we're talking about, and the corporations who invest in the scholarship program get a tax credit for the money that they've put into it. And it is something that a lot of school choice advocates are supporting. And yes, it has got a lot of bipartisan sponsorship, and even including one of the guys I'm running against, his name is on this bill. But this thing has been sitting in committee for a year and a half. So I look at this as a citizen saying, if it has such bipartisan support, why has it not gotten to the floor for a vote? Or is this another gimmick where I put my name on a piece of legislation so I could tell people in this community, look, I care about this stuff, but I couldn't make it. Have you seen the lightning speed which Dick Cody was able to get to the floor, new legislation about prosecutors moving from the prosecutor office to running for public office?
Yeah, curiously, that didn't take them long.
An issue that was able to get lightning speed to the floor and get a vote. But this is sitting there for a year and a half. I don't understand it.
You as an assembly candidate, as a Republican leader in your part of the world, doing great things to bring new people into the party, what is your message to your fellow Republicans who have been, in the past, very reluctant to do anything about this issue. I know anybody who reads this site knows that that's one of my favorite axes to grind, that I agree with you, as we've talked about extensively today, that this is a winning issue for conservative Republicans. But for a variety of electoral reasons, institutional reasons, New Jersey Republicans just don't want to touch the school choice issue. So maybe you could offer them a little bit of encouragement.
Well, look, I think it matters a little bit beyond that. As I said again, not sound like a broken record, but I've never been involved in politics before. And I think you cannot, if you are a regular citizen like I am, like, most of your, listeners and, guys who click on your webpage are, you can't deny that Republicans have been as much a part of a problem over the last several years as Democrats. Now, the Democrats have had the ball clearly for the last 8 years, and it's very hard for them to pin all the problems of the state on President Bush. But, we saw this at a national level where, once Newt Gingrich left the speakership and, President Bush came in, all those conservative Republicans who were giving Bill Clinton a hard time that actually helped produce pretty good legislation for America all turned into Democrats, and they lost their way. So, yes, we have a real challenge as a party to define who we are and what we stand for. We have a chance, but the thing is, if we elect people who say the things that I'm saying, but then get to office and don't do it, then we're nowhere. We're nowhere as a party, and we're certainly getting nowhere as a society. So my expectation is, what I tell people, quite frankly, who invest in my campaign, and my website is www.funtforassembly.org. People who contribute to my campaign, the volunteers who I have now found that are working to build this network. If I win in Dick Cody's district, not only do I owe nothing to the Democratic Party, the truth is I won't owe much to the Republican Party either. Because while they're happy that I'm doing this, this is not a big race that's on their radar screen. Now, when I win on November 3rd, the big story on November 4th is how did that Republican win in a district that has maybe no more than 20% registered Republicans? And the answer, Matt, is going to be because he focused on these core principles, these core values. And this will be the test case. Because if we win here, then I think the Republican Party starts going through the 27th district. People are going to look at what we did here, how I formed a citizens campaign to take back our government, to basically go back to having government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And I will stick to that. And once we do that here, then 2 years from now, I think you will see other citizen movements in all the rest of the districts hammering home these same points. And so it's not going to happen overnight, but if I'm successful here, and if I can get your people to help me out and get that message out right here, this is going to be something to build on that will be major, will spread through the state, and maybe even through the nation. And that's the exciting part about it for me, and I hope it's the exciting part about it for anyone else who decides to take this ride with us.
We've been talking to Barry Funt, and Barry, I want to thank you once again for talking to us. It's rarely that I get to talk to somebody I agree with on just about everything we've talked about, but I really do think that you're talking about some very important things, not only for the rest of the state to hear, but also particularly for our Republican leadership. I think we definitely need guys like you and Mike Donahue down in the 1st District and some of the other great candidates running this year to get in there and help out our Republican governor as he attempts to effect some positive conservative changes in New Jersey, particularly in the area of education. And, as you already mentioned, your website is Funt, F-U-N-T, forassembly.org. I encourage all of our readers to check that out and really get involved with this campaign to the extent you're able. Because, as Barry said, I think this is one of those situations where it's an important test case for conservatism and its ability to transform into a majority ideology for the 21st century that can really unite Americans and move us forward. So, Barry, thanks again.
Thank you, Matt, for the opportunity. Thank you very much.